Really excited about this class. I thought very, very important with us for the first time being able to get back to 85 scholarships. And this is a very, very big class. It's a deep class. It's got 31 players in it. Most of it was done in December, but I thought we had a great day today. I got to credit our staff, Tyler Siskey in the recruiting office and all of our coaches. Some of these relationships were 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. I just thought they did a phenomenal job of closing today because we still had some needs out there at defensive line and linebacker and keeping some of the best players in Mississippi at home, and I felt like we were able to accomplish that today. But top to bottom, I feel like this class can be the foundation of getting this program back on track and back where we all want it to go. So very, very excited about that moving forward. But at this time, I'll open it up for any questions.
Raise your hand and bring a microphone to you.
Matt, can you just talk us through the last month with the recruiting of Jerrion Ely? I know he decommitted for a little while. What did you and your staff do to kind of keep him on the radar and eventually bring him into Ole Miss?
You know what? I think it comes back to relationships, and Coach Nix had known him since the ninth grade and been recruiting him. So I'm just really, really proud of the way he's worked and built that relationship. But he knew the whole family, and I think in the end, when Jerrion came back, I think he felt at home. And I think him making the decision to stay in Mississippi, I think that makes a statement for a lot of different reasons. Not only is he a great player, but he's also a very, very good person, and he's one of the top players, if not the top player in Mississippi. So very, very excited about that decision.
Coach, a lot was made of the Mississippi Made slogan and motto, and you end up getting 19 players out of the state of Mississippi. Just how big was that for you?
No, I think it's big. I want to get them all. I want to get every player in the state of Mississippi, but to get 19 of our 31, I do think that's very, very important because it will always start there. It will always start in the state of Mississippi, and to get the 3 young men from Mississippi that we got this morning was a big deal. Not only for being Mississippi made, but it was a big deal for our program, and it was a big deal for all of our fans moving forward.
Matt, there were some big names in this class that were just added this week or today. Was there some unease that you guys might not finish this strong, or were you confident that they would come on board?
You know what? I was confident because of the positive momentum we had. We had a very, very good offseason. The first thing, there's a commitment to winning from our administration. We went out and signed Mike McIntyre and Rich Rodriguez. Those were 2 big signees. We were able to hold on to some of our staff members that other schools were trying to come in and take some of our coaches. We were able to hold on to that and to hold on to those coaches. And I think that's very, very important. It's a commitment to winning. And because of that, there is no more bowl ban. There is no more sanctions. There is no more scholarship restrictions. When you can go into a home, it gives you a lot of confidence, especially when there's that commitment to winning from your administration. So very, very proud and excited about that.
Coach, just going into the recruiting process, just quarterback depth behind Matt was kind of an issue. You signed 3 quarterbacks. Specifically, you get Plumlee to commit yesterday. Can you talk about just adding that quarterback depth and then Plumlee yesterday and today?
Yeah, so at every position, you want to be 3 deep plus 1. That's the case at every single position. And as we're rebuilding this roster and going back to 85, you're able to do that, and we're able to do that in this class. And so we do have some depth there, and it's going to create some competition. And excited about that. I think all 3 of those quarterbacks that we signed are all different, but they're all special. They're great kids, and that along with Matt, I think it's going to be a great competition.
Matt, you guys obviously played some young linebackers with some upside last year. How does getting a JUCO guy like Henry kind of in your mind immediately change the dynamic of what that may look like next year?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that going into this second signing period, it was important that we get a pass rusher, a D tackle, and a linebacker, and we were able to hit on all 3 of those. So I was very, very pleased with that. I think Brandon Mack's a great pass rusher. Ladarius Cox gives us that size in the middle, and then obviously signing the #1 junior college linebacker in the country is a big deal for us. We've we've struggled at that position, and to get a guy that could come in and give us some immediate help, I think it's a big deal.
Coach, two-part question. The influence of Mike and Rich and Calvin on the late recruiting period, and then what position are you looking for in the transfer portal? You have one more scholarship, don't you?
We do. We have one more initial left. So if there is somebody that's out there, we'll have that opportunity. We're actually at 85, so there'd have to be some attrition on our team. But we do have one initial left for a potential transfer if that comes available after the spring. But as far as I think just as soon as they were hired, I think it just kind of put everybody on notice. Hey, these guys made a commitment to winning, and I think that did that for the recruits as a whole. And then getting those guys out there, they're both former head coaches. They have a confidence about them when they walk into a living room that John Rice Plumlee, he loved what Rich Rod was telling him. Jerry and Ely loved what Rich Rod was telling him. Mingo loved what Rich Rod was telling him. And, I think that's important. I think, Lakia, hearing Mike McIntyre talk about his pro-style defense, hey, this is the exact same defense that the Chicago Bears are using, and showing him cut-ups of that, I think that's a big deal.
Coach,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. With Jerry, and you're obviously not through recruiting, and some of it's out of your control with baseball. Where does that stand? How confident are you that you'll actually get him to campus?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the June and the draft. But because of some of the people that we've had some success with it before, whether it was Anthony Alford or Senquez Golson, I just think that's I think it's maybe a hope that he's gonna play football, and we're gonna have that opportunity. But I think he loves football and he loves baseball. But I do hope, I think we all hope that he's gonna come in and make an impact on football.
Coach, kind of piggybacking off of Chuck there about Mike McIntyre, he brings in a new scheme, 3-4. You referred to it. Did y'all change your strategy there, who you were going to recruit here at the end to try to plug in those holes to make it fit for a 3-4 defense?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have numbers. So some of our defensive ends from last year are now playing outside linebacker. So it does change a little bit, not much, but a little bit as far as numbers and who you're wanting to sign. But we wanted to sign an outside linebacker with Brandon Mack and a pass rusher. Then obviously with Darius Cox giving us some size and girth up front, and then an inside linebacker with Lakia. So we hit all those needs.
Do you envision Cox as kind of that anchor guy, the middle guy in the 3-4?
Well, he could play 4-eye or nose. He could play, in the 3-4. Obviously, there's going to be 2 4-eyes and a nose. He could play either one of those three.
Questions?
You lost a lot at wide receiver, but it looks like you restocked pretty good. Can you kind of go down through those guys a little bit?
Yeah, I think you start with the junior college receiver, Dontario Drummond. He's a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact. This was a kid that was, as a 10th grader, was the MVP of the state championship game, basketball and football, when he was at Laurel as a 10th grader, and a national champion in junior college. So he's a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact. Then you got 4 very, very talented freshmen, 3 of those guys being from Mississippi. So very, very pleased with that group. And, we'll be expecting for some of those guys to come in and play early. Yeah, Mingo, it was, he's been committed for a long time, and there was a lot of questions, going back and forth. But he stayed true the whole time, and, excited we had him.